Okay, this is the next part in the origins of the Cold War. This is talking about the Soviet expansion of Eastern Europe, or in Eastern Europe. So again, we're focusing on causes, events, and consequences. So the causes of the Soviet expansion, you can really come down to four key ideas. Number one, Stalin's key desire for security. He has seen Germany invade. They have invaded in two separate occasions. World War I and World War II, the Germans have swept into Russia and they have decimated Russian life, Russian people. So Stalin wants to have this barrier. He wants to create the buffer zone between himself, Soviet Union, and Germany. So the theory behind it comes from this kind of agreement between Stalin and Churchill, which talked about the percentages deal. In it, Churchill and Stalin basically come to the idea that each of these different countries is going to have an element of influence, whether it be maybe 90% influence from the Great Britain, or 10% from Soviet Union, or 90% from the Soviet Union and 10% from Great Britain, or the others. And that's where Stalin kind of thinks, actually, you know what? Churchill's quite happy with me being in charge of these different countries. So the final sort of thing when we talk about the causes is these conflicting telegrams, or contradicting telegrams really, between America and Russia. So you've got the Long or Kennan telegram and the Novikov telegram. These are telegrams that the ambassadors wrote to their respective president. Kennan wrote to Truman and Novikov writes back to Stalin. And it's clear signs that the two countries are no longer partners. They're no longer working together, but they are enemies to each other. When we talk about the events of the Soviet expansion, the real thing you want to focus on is the fact, just think about these different individual countries that fell under Soviet influence. So in 1945, you've got Poland and Bulgaria. In 1946, you have Romania. In 1947, you have Hungary. And in 1948, Czechoslovakia. The big exception to talk about is the fact that Yugoslavia tries to maintain some independence. They were led by their general Tito, and he didn't want to take any orders from Stalin, and so he tried to maintain his independence, and that got them expelled from Cominform. The consequences of the Soviet expansion, they now have this sphere of influence in Eastern Europe. The countries of Eastern Europe are now under the key influence of Stalin and the Soviet Union, and that will remain so for the next 40-50 years. Truman, at this point, he resolves to stop communism. He's like, right, communism has reached this point, it will go no further. We must contain it where it is, and that will lead us on to the Truman Doctrine. And one of the last things to talk about is, despite what we said earlier on about Churchill's maybe sort of complicity with the percentages deal, Churchill in Fulton, Missouri in 1946, he delivers a speech to a university in America where he refers to the Iron Curtain. And he